It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. It is your feel-good breakfast show, Expresso on S3. Happy Monday to you, and thanks for joining us as we delve right into the news headlines of the day. Now, of course, it only gives us a morsel of the full story, and that's why we want to break things down and give you the chance to also weigh in on the discussion. So please send us all of your opinions on the number 063-408-8863. And this morning, we're joined by media practitioner Nash Makado as we discuss some of the biggest headlines on the front pages of newspapers across Mzansi. And we'd love to hear from you. But great to see you, brother. First time this year, eh?
Yeah. First time.
Absolutely. I hope you had a great holiday and you're feeling ready to take on this year.
I'm feeling ready. Are you feeling ready?
Absolutely. Let's get into it because there are some people in South Africa who are ready to take on their futures, as it were, given the fact that matric results, of course, they came out very recently, and Education Minister Angie Motshekga revealed that the official pass rate of 80.1% in 2002 is an increase, thankfully so, from 76.4% in 2021. Now, the overall pass rate, as you can tell, increased by almost 4%, and the number of bachelor's passes increased by 8.9%, and the number of diploma passes also improved, which is a very, very good result indeed overall for the country. We like where that is going. The trend is good. What do you make of these results when you see them, and what should we take from it?
Well, congratulations to the matriculants and the teachers who have had to work under very difficult conditions over the last few years. First with the pandemic, and then now with the energy crisis. The matric pass rate is usually used to measure the effectiveness of the policies by the Department of Basic Education.
Yes.
If you look at the pass rates from 1995, they denote something that looks like a sawtooth graph that has got these peaks, but something happens every time there is a peak. It's usually followed by a decline for about 5 or so years, right? There are many factors why this could be the case, really, but I would imagine that probably content is one amongst them. And it would be interesting for statisticians out there to do a calculation of the correlation between the pass rate and also the dropout rate. What is the correlation coefficient between these two? The DA has said that, these pass rates are not exactly accurate because they don't consider the dropout rate.
Right.
So if there's a positive correlation between these two variables, then yes, indeed, when the dropout rate goes up and the pass rate goes up as well, they need to be re-examined. But if there's a negative correlation, that would be the more ideal scenario that would want, where the dropout rate goes down and the pass rate goes up. So yeah, there is a lot to unpack there. 340,000 learners who were grade 10 did not end up sitting for their matric exams. That's something there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the hope would be that that correlation that you're talking about indicates that despite the dropout rate, we are seeing still a more effective implementation of policies that's leading to these good results, because ultimately, that's the hope for the country, right?
Yeah.
But we are dealing with the scourge of unemployment that is still troublesome, to say the least, where despite the number of bachelor's qualifications and matric exemptions, that there's still a youth group population, quite a large number of them, who are still unemployed, despite the fact that they've acquired a matric certificate, the lack of skills, the lack of opportunities to get into institutions, the high costs thereof. So how do we go about then, firstly, I mean, do we even have a root understanding or a grip on the root causes of that disparity?
Yeah, well, there are many factors that contribute to the high unemployment rate, stagnant economic growth that is insufficient to job creation. For example, in 2009, as a knock-on effect of the global financial crisis of 2007 and 2008, South Africa lost about 1 million jobs. That's a lot.
That's devastating.
Yeah, and you have about 51% of the youth who are unemployed, who do not have a matric qualification. 31% do have a matric qualification. About 8% are graduates who also have other tertiary qualifications. And the remainder are people who, amongst the youth who cannot work because of several other factors, such as disability. So, yeah, it is a host of factors that contribute to this high unemployment figure. There is also something interesting that was brought about by the late British educationalist Sir Ken Robinson, who suggested that you know, there is a global process of academic inflation that is going on. Years ago, when you there are jobs that you could get from just having a matric qualification. Right. Now you need a diploma. You know,
as a bare minimum.
As a bare minimum, those where you needed a diploma, you need a degree. Where you need a degree, a master's degree, a PhD, and so on and so forth. So there's that process that a lot of people don't talk about, but is happening the world over. So this being underskilled does preclude the youth from gaining access to the job market. You know, the quality of the qualification does determine whether or not somebody ends up getting employed.
Yeah, very, very interesting take there. Thank you very much for that insight. We look forward to continuing that conversation with you. Of course, we'd like to hear from you as well. 063-408-8863. We'll be catching up once again with Nash very shortly about some of the headlines, including, oh my goodness, Eskom, the CEO. What's going on?
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back to your Feel Good Breakfast Show on this Monday morning. Thanks once again for joining us at the start of a brand new week. We're back again with media practitioner Nash Mercado to catch up on some of the biggest headlines all around the country. And of course, we would love to hear from you as well. Give us a voice note. Send it to 063-403-8863. Picking up on a story that, of course, we're all too familiar with, load shedding. And some of the latest news regarding load shedding are that 10 million chickens have been taken out of production in the last 6 weeks. This due to load shedding, and abattoirs simply don't have enough time to process the number of chickens that they normally do. This is quite a crisis that I wasn't expecting to see making headlines or being kind of part of the conversation of the day. But can you give us a bit more context into this, Nash?
So what is happening is that because of load shedding, abattoirs cannot process meat, they cannot slaughter chickens at the same level of efficiency that they used to be able to do so. You know, they work 24 hours. So when there was the stage 6 load shedding, they were losing about 6 hours of work a day. So now what happens is that the spaces where farmers grow the chickens, they are not free to bring in new chicks because they cannot pass on these chickens fast enough to, you know, to the abattoirs for them to process them. So now they have had to cull 10 million chicks, and this is concerning because, you know, chicken is affordable in South Africa. It's a food source for many.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
So this is likely going to be a problem.
And so with that, one of the emerging stories is that a poultry farmer in the Northwest is wanting to sue Eskom for some 1.5 million rand, this due to an estimated 40 to 50,000 of his flock then dying as a result of this. So what do you make of this? I mean, can Eskom be expecting more lawsuits? Can we sue Eskom?
Well, I kind of do empathize with this farmer, being somebody who farms myself more crops than poultry or animal husbandry. Your chickens have survived all the vulnerabilities that poultry is exposed to. Newcastle virus, all the variations of bird flu, and then load shedding happens. You know, it's just something that you know, is very concerning. He is probably not the only one. There are probably several farmers who have also incurred losses because of load shedding. But about suing Eskom, there are legal provisions for suing Eskom, but probably Eskom could expect more of these from corporations rather than individuals.
Right.
Because of the legal costs associated with having to sue such a huge organization. You know? So I think the stage 6 question here would be whether or not it is worth it in the end, because the legal costs could be more than the money that you're finally entitled to via claim.
Yeah, but then one wonders what this might look like if this turned into a class action instead of just an individual corporation pushing for that kind of
definitely
legal remedy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, in other news, though, New Zealand's Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern last week said that she would be standing aside for a new leader within weeks, saying that she doesn't believe that she has the energy to seek re-election in October when the polls do come out. Now, Ardern has been generally praised as a symbol of empathetic leadership that listens to the people, and especially after her swift and heartfelt response in 2019's Christchurch massacre. So, given the fact that, you know, she, I think in a very big way, holds quite a significant position in the hearts of New Zealanders. What do you think of this move? I mean, what do people even make of it?
Well, how she handled the Christchurch massacre will probably be the hallmark of her leadership. She handled that quite well. I know why people would want her to stay.
Yes.
Or as we do of all great leaders, we don't want them to leave office. But she said something in a resignation speech that she no longer has the energy to carry out her duties as head of government. Barack Obama said something similar that resonates with what she said when he was reaching the end of his second term. He said that he was looking forward to spending more time with family, not having such a huge security detail, but most importantly, resting. Because when you are doing the job well, it is exhausting and it ages you much quicker. You know, the baton of leadership has to be passed from one person to the other. Leaders, I think, should leave when they're still wanted. Otherwise, you risk eroding your legacy.
Absolutely. So, wow, a case of honest leadership that we're experiencing. Hopefully that might be a bit of a beacon, a guiding beacon for some leaders out there in the world. Nash, always a pleasure to see you, my brother. Good luck for the year ahead. Looking forward to interacting with you a lot more as well.
Thank you.
And we'd love to hear from you as well on some of these news headlines we've discussed and those that you might find to be of interest on this Monday morning. Give us a voice note. Send it to 063-408-8863 as we ease ourselves into this Monday morning.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. This is your Feel Good Breakfast Show. We're back again with media practitioner Nash Makado as we discuss some of the biggest headlines on our front pages of newspapers across Mzansi. And of course, we would also love to hear from you. 063-408-8863. Give us your opinion on some of these headlines that we're discussing and indeed those that you might find to be interesting this morning. Another story that we wanted to touch on very quickly is that in Peru, in the capital of Lima, it turned very, very violent as demonstrators demanded their president, Dina Boluarte, leave office. And around 3,500 people attended the march, and at least 13 civilians and 4 police officers were injured in the uprising. And these protests have indeed highlighted a deep division between the country's urban elite and largely concentrated in the capital of Lima and the mostly indigenous people in the south. Do we know, Nash, where these divisions stem from?
Yes, it is known where these divisions stem from. There is a history of poverty and inequality in Peru that has caused a divide between the wealthy elite and the indigenous Peruvians. And currently, what is happening is that the indigenous Peruvians usually prefer a charismatic leader, populist leader, who promises reforms and rewriting the wrongs that led to marginalization in the past and also instituted these divisions that you're talking about. So this is what is happening in the country, that the former president, the new president, she is Peru's first female president. So there is something to celebrate, but what we're seeing on the streets right now does not show that people are really happy with that fact that she's the first female president. Pedro Castillo, he was impeached by Congress after trying to dissolve Congress. A lot of people are arguing, of course, that Congress had become increasingly aggressive towards him, but he made a political blunder by considering to dissolve Congress. So they're protesting not only the employment of Dina Boluarte, but they're also protesting the removal from power of somebody whom they had voted into power. So it's kind of a dual scenario here where they're protesting the present president because they feel that she has betrayed the electorate. Apparently, she had said that she was not going to take office. She was the former president's running mate. So she had said that if he is to leave power, I'm not going to take office. But
so sort of a betrayal of the people's
sort of
confidence.
a betrayal of the people's confidence, they feel, yeah.
Wow, not a good position for Dina Boluarte to be in. And this, you know, it's being reported that this is some of the worst violence that's been seen in Peru in some 2 decades, where 55 people have been killed in the unrest since, as you said, the former president was then impeached. So as it stands, does it look like there is an end in sight in terms of all of this violence that we're seeing?
It's a very complex issue because the current president is Peru's 6th president over a period of 5 years. And none of these presidents that have come over this period have been able to finish a term. Most of them, except one, I think, have been embroiled in political and corruption scandals. There have been some improvements over the years in terms of Peru's economy, and also there has been a reduction in armed insurgency. But when you look deeper, you find out that Peru, they are the 2nd largest producers of copper in the world, the largest being China. China is a superpower and therefore untouchable. Right? But what often happens with weaker states that possess mineral wealth is that they are always vulnerable to infiltration, outside infiltration from people who might want to partake of that mineral wealth.
So you think that there might be other forces at work, at play here?
There might be other forces at play here. There's a book called Confessions of an Economic Hitman that details how these kinds of things go about. So there could be other forces at play because it doesn't really make much sense what is going on. It's just one thing after the other.
I tell you what, as you mentioned,
coming in and going.
Yeah, as you mentioned that the word Cambridge Analytica dropped into my mind, and you understand how certain political kind of phenomena can be applied, and strategies can be applied to swing things in an economy to operate in a particular way. So very, very interesting there. I didn't consider that for a moment, but thank you very much. We appreciate your insights, Nash. And of course, we would love to hear from you as well. Do hit us up on 0634088863. Let us know which headlines have piqued your interest on this Monday morning.